If you could have anybody performing at the Big Three title game, who would you pick? Taylor Cube, I want to go back to the beginning of the Big Three. I need to know, you and Jeff Kwatnitz, how this first started. When did this first idea happen?
I think it's after Kobe scored 60 points in his last game. I had a box at the Staples Center for, 20 years, his whole career. I missed that game. I was shooting a movie. I was in Atlanta. I think we was shooting Fist Fight or some movie like that. But so, I kind of got beside myself about, damn, I can't see Kobe play no more. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? And 3-on-3 has always been in my mind, way in the back of my mind, because Mountain Dew and Nike and all these companies do these weekend warrior tournaments. Saturday and Sunday, come out, bring your best 3-on-3 squad, try to win a prize, win some shoes, whatever the little prize they got. And I always was like, that's amateur. Why isn't 3-on-3 professional? Why isn't it a pro version of that? So I brought this up to Jeff, he had been looking at 3-on-3. He had been studying FIBA and seeing the things that they do wrong. And then we just start talking about, like, what would a pro 3-on-3 league look like even?
When you had that first press conference in New York introducing the Big Three, where did you think you'd be at this point?
We were confident in some ways, but naive in others. We thought the sports business ran similar to the entertainment business, but it's two different philosophies when it comes to the people who could support a league like this, meaning the big networks, or at that time it was RSNs, and who could support something like this, and what was their philosophy on new sports leagues. And we quickly found out that their philosophy is, don't pay attention to a new sports league. Wait till they get 3 or 4 years under their belt before you can even take them serious. So we found that out very quick, and then kind of had to adjust to that landscape.
Well, now you're 8 years in, season 8. What would you say is the state of the Big Three right now?
We're still growing. We're going through growing pains, as they say. We got a great product. We put on great games, but we're still trying to grow the league. We still have entities like the NBA, leaning on the support, the sponsors and the networks and the broadcasters to, not really pay attention to the Big Three. So, we have to be creative, and we have to, create our own narratives in the culture. And we good at that. I'm used to being an outsider, so to speak, and finding my way and navigating through the industry. So, that's what we're doing.
I was going to ask about the NBA relationship and then if it was getting better, but it sounds like that's not the case.
Well, it is getting better. It's just, I think the front office is the problem. Players love us, coaches love us, owners love us. Owners want to buy teams and want to have a piece of the Big Three. GMs love us. So, it's just the front office that look at us as a threat. We're kind of a live wire, and we change the game without their permission. And I don't know if they like that.
I know. So another big move this year is the teams being aligned with specific cities for the first time. Are there talks with NBA teams that are in the same city?
Yeah, there's talk of some cross promotion. A few teams have been really great to us. The Celtics, for one. This is why we have a team in Boston, and Boston has been great as a Big Three city. We had our championship there last year, and every time we go there, the crowd grows. So, I believe the Pistons, and the amplifiers are in close contact. Some of our owners are very tied in to the NBA. So, it's gonna happen sooner or later.
Most fans watching the Big Three this summer don't realize you also got these new deals with leagues in Australia and Asia. Tell me about the global growth of the Big Three.
Yeah, we've always saw the vision as a global sport. We in studying 3-on-3, we looked around the world and saw they playing more 3-on-3 around the world than 5-on-5, especially in Asia. So our thought process is, do exhibitions in these countries, and eventually develop, Big Three leagues for those regions in those countries, and then, do a Big 3-on-3 World Cup type event. If you could look, 5 or 10 years down the line. So, that's the big picture. So having a deal, we just worked out a deal with the NBL, which is the Australian Basketball League. I think the most credible league outside of the NBA. And then we're doing something with the EASL, which is the East Asian Super League, which is a league who takes the best teams from Asia and from the different countries in Asia, formulate the best teams and do a league with the best teams playing each other. So we're doing a partnership with the EASL to do exhibitions in a few different Asian countries. So the vision is coming together.
The Australia League, the NBL stuff, is that coming first? You've got some teams, some players going out there in the fall?
Yeah, we're scheduled to go to Australia this fall, November, and then and do Asia early next year.
So when we talk about this fall, after Big Three season is over, you've got another big plans on your schedule with your first tour in quite a while, huh? You getting ready for that? How's it going?
Yeah, getting ready for it. Building the sets, building and putting a different show together. I've been performing for a long time, but every now and then I put a big production together and go out with it. It's been a while since my last major production tour, so I'm happy to get back at it. And it's been 40 years, so I need to wrap that up in a bow, so to speak, and celebrate these 4 decades of music, movies, being a part of entertainment.
Yeah, and touring, obviously a big undertaking. I wonder if you'll be working out with some of the Big Three players this summer to get ready for the durability of that.
Definitely, starting to ramp up my workouts and getting my cardio right. When the cardio's right, I could do it standing on my head. So just working that out.
As far as the Big Three goes, 8 seasons in, is there one thing you're most proud of that this league has done?
We never knew when we started the league how much it would benefit the mental health of the players and coaches and everybody involved who, for one reason or another, find themselves outside of the NBA. Some of them got to go overseas and play, but the feeling of coming back home and playing in front of your fans and your family has done more for the mental health of these athletes than I could have ever imagined with this league. And so that's what I'm most proud of, that the players they don't feel empty, they don't feel like they got a skill that can't be used no more, that they're basketball players and they get to play as long as they can in the Big Three, where in other leagues it's a numbers game. You may still can play, but they don't have room for you no more. So
Speaking of some of the players and getting up there in age, I've heard you talk about this too. Now that the league is getting deeper and bigger and better, you've got more young players coming out, which might be a problem for some of the older guys.
we've been 22 and up since 2019, and then it's not a problem for the older guys. At the end of the day, it's skill level and it's technique, having all the tricks of the trade and knowing how to apply them in a game time situation. Sometimes you need to mature a little bit to get everything you need when it comes to that. I've seen 25-year-olds get locked up, and I've seen 42-year-olds get loose. So you can you can kind of read that any way you want. It's just pro 3-on-3. So either you can play at this level or not.
Another source of pride, I'm sure, is, besides the fact that there are so many iconic names on the list of coaches in the Big Three, you've also got Nancy Lieberman Lisa Leslie, two of the greatest women basketball players. Do you think now the Knicks reportedly wanted to talk to Dawn Staley before they hired their new head coach? Do you think the NBA will ever follow the Big Three's lead with the women's head coach?
It's really up to the owners when it comes to the league. It's not really the NBA's place to place a coach. It's really up to the owners. So, maybe an owner realize that it doesn't matter. Either you know the game and you can communicate, or you can't. And that's not always wrapped up in just men, but women know the game, can teach the game, can communicate, and get their players to play hard. And so we're just a living proof of that. I guess we're the test model. And so take a look at what we're doing. Nancy has won the championship, and Lisa Leslie won the championship, and they both made it back to the championship. They didn't win it, but they made it back. So they climbed back up to the mountain. And so they have what it takes. Both made coaches of the year, voted by the peers, voted by the other coaches and players. So, like I said, we got the test model if they want to take a look at how it works.
Hey, Cube, last year you guys made some news when you offered Caitlin Clark some money to join the league before she got to the WNBA. Can you tell me about that?
But we thought she can have a Billie Jean King moment and, break a barrier and play, professional 3-on-3. So we made the offer, and her agents, I think they snuffed it out because we never got a chance to talk to her or her family. So we never really got a chance to make our case. So it was just pretty much all in the press through the agents, and it didn't happen. So, we thought it was a moment in time. I don't think we would make that offer again because we feel like, the moment has passed, but we wish her luck.
I don't know if you've already got plans for entertainment at the Big Three's championship game this year, but if you could have anybody performing at the Big Three title game, who would you pick?
Kendrick Lamar and SZA. I mean, they tearing up the world right now. If you got their number, I know they just did the Super Bowl, so we ain't the Super Bowl, but we definitely got a super game. I think we're owning the culture right now when it comes to basketball, and we're going to continue to do it.
Give me your 3 all-time greatest Raiders.
Oh, wow. 3 all-time greatest? I would have to say Kenny Stabler, Marcus Allen, and Jack Tatum. Yeah, those 3.
By the way, I'm talking to my boss. I was predicting that Tatum would have to be in there somewhere. So
Definitely.
thanks for backing me up.